name's Tim. I'm from UK, and a while back I was working with homeless people and with into prisons, and I was using theatre as a method. So originally I was an actor, and then I went into applied theatre. So I would use theatre as a method for telling other people's stories and lifting them up into a great story, and then I would direct that story and see how those guys joined together. But what I was seeing was, because of course I pray about the whole thing, and what I was seeing was is that the Father would love these people, and I'd see them respond to the love and just really lift out of themselves. But what I wasn't seeing were these crucial parts, like captives being set free, people raised from the dead, and people healed. And I'm like, I've been doing this for a while and I'm loving these people, but where are these things, Lord, that you said would happen in Acts? So I basically broke down in front of the Lord. I remember in my kitchen, and I was on my own, and I just got on my knees, and I was just saying, Lord, please, what's going on? And he said, I'm glad you asked. And from that point on, he started to unravel what was going on, what was wrong, what was stopping this happening. He started to give me revelation through words that he would speak to me, which was awesome, because I always wanted to hear from the Father. And then realised I'd been hearing from him all along, I just hadn't stopped to listen. And then he'd give me the word, and I'd be in the word, and he'd give me a revelation of how church he wanted it to be in the future. And it got to such a massive set of blueprints. And I said, Lord, this is humongous. I couldn't possibly do this in one lifetime, and I couldn't do it on my own. How on earth would I start this? And the words I found him say was, gather like-minded around a cross in a field to pray. And from that point on, I just followed the words and leadings that he gave me, prophetic words, and discovered that he wanted this prayer in a specific place at a specific time. And what helped was I was wanting to go on mission to South Sudan or the Congo, and these trips would come up and it wouldn't happen. And then the trip came to Boston to work with an artist, and that just had the Lord's favour all over it. So I came to work with an artist, and that artist happened to be coming to 10 days of prayer. And that's where I discovered this is how you might gather those like-mindeds to pray. And then I realised that this is dates that are really important to the Father, and this isn't about franchising something, this is something that's important to the Father. So I got home, and we had in a specific place that the Lord wanted, which was in a park right in the centre of town. And I thought, what? In the centre of town? Well, if I was going to do prayer, I would hide it away in a church and keep it quiet. But no, he really showed me clearly that he wanted it in these gardens, which was right in the centre of my town in Reading, UK. And we had it in September of last year, and it was the most extraordinary gathering. It was extraordinary because I didn't know all of the people that would gather. I just stepped out in faith. I didn't set an agenda. I followed the Lord's leading, and the prophets, the teachers, the pastors, the evangelists, the apostles, just a handful of them at first just gathered in this place just to seek the Lord's face. And before I knew it, by the end of the 10 days, we were having such amazing breakthrough in prayer. And the proclamations that we were making, we were feeling that this town was filling up with the Lord's kingdom and the Lord's angels. One of the evangelists that goes out on the high street said, it seemed like 3 times as easy to speak to people about Jesus. So it was just subtle changes in the environment that if you weren't looking, you might not notice. But I could sense that this prayer was having a huge difference. And the other key thing was I started to meet those like-minded, those people that shared the same dreams, prophets, that were awesome. And now we're starting to work together to unravel that amazing dream that and revelation that the Father gave me in the first place. And I'm discovering, hey, as it's a kingdom thing, he didn't just give it to me, he gave it to them as well. But the prayer was the place where we gathered and we discovered that. And it was the like-minded, the ones that were seeking his face, so that we can just get on with his kingdom plans. And that is the awesome part about 10 days of prayer at that specific time. Shaking off those things that aren't good for us and taking on those things that the Father has in his purpose for our life. By the way, they seem to be huge. So one of the things that I discovered, because literally we're just moving forward and asking the Father what to do, one of the things I discovered is that worship was really key in this 10 days of prayer. And some people were commenting, but I thought this was 10 days of prayer. The thing is, there are many ways to pray and many ways to have a dialogue with God. And one of them is worship, in my opinion. One of them is reading the Word. But the worship was key. And do you know what? I found out that there was an awesome worship leaders in different churches. I'll just tell you a story, actually, that while I was in the 10-day process, someone who's quite prophetic sent me a message on my phone and said, I had a vision of a tent in this park 3 years ago, before they'd even heard about us putting this tent up. And they'd seen worship leaders from different churches gathering together, and they thought that was weird because they'd formed one band, but they were church worship leaders from different churches. And what they saw in this vision, that the Lord was looking down and he was really delighted and smiling because these worship leaders were improvising together in an environment where they were mixing the different people and representatives of the bride. And I thought, that's awesome. So the Lord had already shown someone that this was going to happen. I discovered that worship was like a declaration from the Lord, and we were in a public space. And of course, in the Bible, worship's warfare. So the Lord was taking territory in this town with the worship. And that was his way of warfare. The worship guys are the guys that go in first. So this constant presence we tried to get of worship, people were attracted to. One Muslim guy came by with his little girl. His little girl wanted to come in the tent and listen. But before you know it, I'm chatting to this Muslim guy, and he said, yeah, my daughter just wanted to come in here and listen because it's a nice atmosphere. So that is one of the key things of worship. Now, that person who had the vision, I delivered that to the guys and said, look, isn't this amazing about joining the worship leaders from all the town? And as soon as I delivered that, she sent me another message. She said, the Lord has given me another vision last night, and I saw who those worship leaders were. So we actually thought, this is cool, why don't we go with this? So we called every one of those worship leaders and called them the Dream Team, because they came from a dream. And we put them together, and there was something special about them holding the glory of God, but also the fact that they'd come together. And the blessing of the unity between the churches, making the bride, just had this evening of phenomenal presence of God. And so we were able to pray, but with the Lord's presence there, leading us the whole way. And you just got to experience it to be able to put it into words.